Let me start by saying I understand why most Oxfordians stay away from the Prince Tudor theory. From what I've been told, there's really not much evidence for it. But also, you're already trying to prove that Edward de Vere was Shakespeare. You throw into the conversation that he was Queen Elizabeth's son, therefore a prince and potential king of England. It seems a bit much. The majority of the time, I'm just trying to help answer the Shakespeare authorship question. But on occasion, I find column codes or messages referring to Edward de Vere as a king. It's been suggested maybe this has to do with a secret society or that he was actually her consort. In this video, I'm going to show how someone connected Edward de Vere to this painting, and it seems to me they would have only done so if they thought they had reason to believe he was part of the royal family. Finding support for the Prince Tudor theory is not why I got into the Shakespeare authorship question, and my opinion on the matter is still not set, but I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't share these findings. Every now and then I find something, or in this case, Christopher Johnson suggested I take a look at a couple paintings, and we both found some things that appear to be clues. On the left is an Allegory of Tudor succession attributed to Lucas de Heere, 1572. It was commissioned by Elizabeth I as a gift to her Secretary of State and Spymaster Sir Francis Walsingham. The version on the right was painted by Anonymous circa 1590. With the original, there's a poem painted onto and around the frame. The most obvious difference between the two Elizabeths, other than what she's wearing, is in the de Heere portrait, she's pointing with her right hand. In the Anonymous portrait, the right hand is holding a glove symbolizing monarchy. In both paintings, her left hand is holding the hand of the goddess of peace called Irene by the Greeks and Pax by the Romans. And in both paintings, particularly the second one, the goddess Peace looks like she might be pregnant. You can disagree with that. It doesn't change the outcome of what's here. So let's see what Elizabeth's pointing at. It goes in a straight line through the stomach of the goddess Peace to the poem and the letter R in the word rare. The poem is painted onto the frame and not the painting itself. As you'll see, it's the key that unlocks what's here. This is what Elizabeth's pointing at. There's the letter R, which I'll return to in a minute. The words along the side are supposed to be referring to Edward VI and read, "A rare and virtuous son." Along the bottom of the frame it reads, "Virtues of the three." In the poem, virtues and virtuous are the only two words beginning with V-E-R. Notice how the finger in the bottom corner isn't pointing at the words, but instead is pointing back towards the interior of the painting. This is different than what's going on with the finger in the opposite corner. Notice how that finger points directly at the words, "a zealous daughter in her kind," referring to Mary I. So why is the other finger, which should be pointing at the words about Edward, is instead pointing away from them? Well, let's see what it's pointing at. Instead of pointing at the words, "a rare and virtuous son," the way the other finger points at "a zealous daughter in her kind," referring to Mary I, it passes through the face of Edward to the top of the head of Henry VIII, where his crown would sit, all the way up to the letter E in the word face. Looking at where both fingers are pointing, the one in the corner, which should be pointing to the words about Edward, instead points all the way to the other side of the painting to the letter E in the word face. Elizabeth points to the letter R in the word rare. Using gematria, E equals 5 and R equals 17, totaling 22, or twice 11, but also ER are initials for Edward Rex. That could still stand for Edward VI, so let's see if there's anything else that can tell us something. Looking closer at where Elizabeth's pointing and the words about Edward along the side, the finger in the corner of the poem, which should be pointing at the words, instead points to the letter E on the other side of the painting, and Elizabeth points to the letter R. After the R, count 7 letters and we arrive at the word virtuous, V-E-R-T-U-O-U-S. If Edward de Vere had been king, he would have been Edward VII. The fingers are pointing to the letters E and R, initials for Edward Rex, followed by 7 letters, then V-E-R and virtuous. Let's take a closer look at that. I've turned the line on its side to make it easier to read. Again, the fingers are pointing to E and R. After the R, count 7 letters to the V in Vertuous. From the V, there are 12 letters till the end of the line. There are 12 letters in the name Edward de Vere, but also, as I've explained in previous videos, using the Latin alphabet, M is the 12th letter, and Hebrew M is Mem, which is equivalent to 40. These letters are encoded with the cipher 740, de Vere's king and code number, which also appears in the 1611 King James Bible. The last word is son, spelled S-O-O-N. The 2 O's look like a stylized letter I, which can then make the letters of the word appear to be S-C-I-O-N. A scion is an heir, so we have E-R, 7 letters, 40, Vertuous scion. Next, we're going to look at the bottom corner of the frame, which reads Virtues of the Three. Beginning with the V in Virtues, there are 17 letters till the end of the line. Edward de Vere was the 17th Earl of Oxford. Notice also the combination of T and H in the word the. This character is also found on the Shakespeare gravestone and memorial in Stratford. It only appears once in the poem, here in this VER 17 letter clue. To review, the line from the finger in the corner points to the letter E in the word face. On the way, it passes through the face of Edward and touches the head of Henry VIII, where his crown would sit. Elizabeth points to the letter R in the word rare. It passes through the somewhat pregnant-looking stomach of the goddess Peace. E and R are the letters being pointed to, and happen to equal 22 or twice 11, and are initials for Edward Rex. Also, from the letter R being pointed to by Elizabeth, count 7 letters to the word virtuous. Had he been king, Edward de Vere would have been Edward VII. From the V in virtuous till the end of the line are 12 letters. In Latin, or using the gematria that all the codes I found in the Sonnets First Folio and 1611 King James Bible use, 12 is equal to M, and Hebrew M is Mem, which is equivalent to 40, de Vere's code number. The words along the bottom corner of the frame are Virtues of the Three. Starting with the V in Virtues, count 17 letters till the end of the line. Edward de Vere was the 17th Earl of Oxford. So we have 7, 17, and 40, de Vere's king, earl, and code numbers, all part of these letter counts that include the only 2 words in the poem beginning with V-E-R, or Vere. As far as the word son looking like scion, that's my take on it, but you can decide for yourself if that was the intent. For 17 and 740 to occur like this, I just don't see it happening without design. And if we count all the letters from the V in Virtues to the V in Virtuous, there are 29 total. 29 is 17 plus 12. 12 is M and Hebrew Mem, which is equivalent to 40. I've shown in several videos how 29 is used as a cipher for 1740. And here it is with the only 2 words on the frame beginning with V-E-R or Vere. This does not happen randomly. Something else I don't believe is a coincidence is the count of the letters along the top of the frame. In the middle is the word for, spelled F-O-W-R. Strange way to spell it. The W is comprised of 2 letter V's followed by an R. With gematria, 2 V's equal 40 and R equals 17. 17 and 40. Also, there are 40 letters to the left and right of these characters. And there's another code here. In the middle of the line, 4 is referring to a number. If you then count the words, there are 10 on the left and 7 on the right, totaling 17, Edward de Vere's Earl number. With gematria, 4 is equal to the letter D, so we have 17-4D, which is a homophone of 1740. To me, this does not look like it all happened by chance, and there's one more possible clue in the frame, which I'll show towards the end of the video. Now let's look at the painting by Anonymous circa 1590. There's no poem around the frame, and a few changes have been made. As I showed earlier, the most obvious difference with Elizabeth is that she isn't pointing with her right hand, but is instead holding a glove, which symbolizes monarchy. And more so in the anonymous painting, the goddess Peace looks like she might be pregnant. That's my opinion and Chris Johnson's opinion, but you can decide for yourself. Looking closer at the glove, notice how it follows the same direction as Edward's hand, and the width of it's the same as his thumb and fingers. I believe we're supposed to make a connection between the glove Elizabeth is holding and Edward's hand. Just like how she's holding the hand of peace with her left hand, her right hand's holding Edward's. Looking at the front of Edward's torso, there's a vertical line of buttons, and I'll call them tassels. It starts with 6 buttons, a space, then 2 of these tassels, then another space, and 4 more buttons. 6, 2, 4. Oxford's supposed to have died on 624, but he was still alive at the time of this painting. But there are 6, 2, and 4 letters in the name Edward de Vere. And there's the connection to Midsummer's and the Nativity of John the Baptist, 624. What's curious to me is the amount of space between the buttons. The tassels, or whatever they are from the necklace, and there's a huge space of fabric between the 6 buttons on the chest and the 4 on the stomach. 4 in Dutch is Vere, so I thought the spacing or separation of the buttons might be a clue. Chris Johnson believes it's really just a matter of counting the buttons, 6 and 4, the number of letters in Edward Vere. Also, there's the necklace. On it are 7 of these round ornaments. If de Vere had been king, he would have been Edward VII. And it looks like an M is painted on his left arm. In Hebrew, M is mem, which is equivalent to 40. 7 circles in the necklace, and an M equivalent to 40. 740 would have been de Vere's king and code number. Chris had sent me the anonymous painting before I saw the de Heere, and one of the first things that caught my attention was this pattern in the embroidery. I'll refer to them as circles. From the fleur-de-lis above Henry's crown, you can count 5 of these circles along the top and 12 along the side for a total of 17, until we get to the circle that's around Edward's face, which then interrupts the pattern. On the left side, there are only 16 of these circles. The de Heere painting does follow the same pattern. There are 17 of these embroidered circles from Henry's crown to the face of Edward. On the left side, I think there are 21 circles that continue uninterrupted to the floor. But here, just like the anonymous painting, there are 17 circles from Edward to the one above the crown. However, in this painting, I'm not sure if it was done by design. I think in the one by Anonymous they picked up on this. Realizing Edward was touching the 17th circle in the de Heere portrait, they painted what looks like a halo or partial halo around his face, similar to what's found in medieval and Byzantine paintings. Now in the de Heere painting, the shape of Edward's face seems to resemble other portraits of Edward VI. The face is narrow and the chin comes to a point. Also in the other portraits, his nose seems to be kind of pointed as well. Compared to the anonymous portrait, though, the face of Edward VI has a different shape, as does the nose, particularly at the end of it. Now compare the shape of the anonymous portrait to the one of Edward de Vere. The forehead is different, but the curvature of the face looks more similar. Also, the end of the nose appears to have the same shape, with the septum hanging a little bit lower. I'm not an expert on faces, but the face in the middle kind of looks like a combination of the other two. But whether the face matches or not, I don't think it's more important than the other things I've gone over. One more item from the anonymous painting I want to show you is what's hidden on Henry's leg or knee band. It's upside down here, but it's from the Middle French maxim and the emblem above Henry. Honi soit qui mal y pense, which means shamed be whoever thinks ill of it. I turned it right side up so we can get a better look. The letter N in Honi is reversed. The next word is supposed to be swa, but as you can see, the last letter is blurred. From what I can tell, that's not the screen or a poor scan. It looks like a brushstroke did that, and I think it may be a clue as to why the N in Honi is reversed, hinting that the blurred letter is also an N, giving us the words Honi son, or shamed son, which is what Edward de Vere would have been if he was Queen Elizabeth's illegitimate child. Considering everything I've gone over from these two paintings, it's difficult dismissing it all simply to chance. Again, I'm not an expert on faces, so we can disagree on whether or not the face in the anonymous portrait looks like Edward de Vere, but everything else I just don't see occurring without design. A couple more ideas about the poem in the frame. E in the word face and R in the word rare are being pointed to. These two words might be a clue that tells us who's responsible for encoding the frame. With the word face over the word rare, we get 4 columns of letters. The first two are FR, which are the first 2 letters in the name Francis, as in Francis Bacon, or fraternity. Next is AA, which is the headpiece found in the sonnets and first folio. Then it's CR, or Chi-Rho, the first 2 letters in Christ. Or maybe it's to be read the other way, RC for Rose Cross. And then the last 2 letters are EE for Edward Earl. Alexander Waugh, who does not support the Prince Tudor theory, shows a similar code in his video on the Wilton House Shakespeare Monument. Information is revealed by each column of letters. Notice also that the Wilton House Monument code and the one from the top of the frame of the de Heere portrait both use the letters W or double V and R to give us 17 and 40 De Vere's Earl and code number. And looking one more time at the words virtues and virtuous. From the letter V in virtues, there are 17 letters till the end of the line, and from the letter V in virtuous, there are 12 letters till the end of the line. 12 is a cipher for the number 40, 17 and 40. After the last letter is a period, followed by the finger that points to the letter E on the other side of the frame. But it's also drawing attention to the last letter, which is N. I think the 2 examples of VER or Vere and the letter N is an abbreviated allusion to the De Vere motto Vero nihil verius, nothing truer than truth. After a lot of work and what seems like a couple hundred emails, Chris Johnson and I reached the conclusion that we think that there was nothing encoded into the de Heere portrait itself. Rather, the poem was used to encode it. Someone lined the direction of Elizabeth's finger pointing to the letter R, and the finger in the corner of the poem was added pointing to the letter E. The words virtues and virtuous were written into the lines, with letter counts specific to numbers pertaining to Edward de Vere. The same with the line across the top, a double V followed by a letter equivalent to 17, with 40 words on either side. Now why would someone go through all this effort if they weren't trying to say something about Edward de Vere being part of the royal family? Thank you to Chris Johnson and to you for watching.